In this video, we're going to discuss nucleic acids. So first up we have DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid. It has a double helix structure and is double-stranded. And DNA is really important because it's basically the instruction manual for everyth' that goes on in our bodies. So we have two directions that the strands of DNA run in. It's called the 5' to 3' direction and the 3' to 5' direction, with prime being denoted by an apostrophe. So what does this mean? Basically, we label it because phosphates are always attached to either the 5' or the 3' carbons of each sugar. And the directions of the DNA strands are based on where the phosphate is at the end of the strand. So that's how we label them. So here we've got a phosphate attached to the 5th carbon. So that means that if this nucleotide was found at the end of the DNA strand, it would be called 5' at that point. And this direction is important to know because DNA and RNA can only be synthesized in the 5' to 3' direction. Speaking of RNA, RNA is ribonucleic acid, which is single-stranded and has a ribose sugar, and it goes from the 5' to 3' direction. Let's have a look at the bases that can be found in DNA versus RNA. So these bases that I'm talking about are here in blue, the nitrogenous base that is attached to the nucleotide. In DNA, these are adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And in RNA, the thymine is replaced by a uracil, so that's important to know. Let's look at how the bases are paired, particularly in DNA, because that's the most important thing to know. So A pairs with T and G pairs with C. And to remember this, I use this mnemonic at the Gold Coast. The ones in purple, so that's adenine and guanine, have 2 carbon rings and they're called purines, while the ones in orange are thymine and cytosine, which are pyrimidines and have 1 carbon ring. So that's something else to remember. And I would also think it's important to remember that the amount of A and T and the amount of G and C are the same. And this is important for questions that will come up that will ask you to calculate the amount of one base based on the fact that another amount of another base has been given. So if they gave you the amount of adenine, you should be able to know the amount of thymine because they are the same. And then you can do some other calculations when you see a question asking about the amount of bases based on the fact that the amount of A and T and the amount of G and C are the same. And that's the basics about nucleic acids.